All right, day 424. Today, we're looking at properties that are 4 bedrooms on the market that are single families for less than 3 days. Okay. And the reason we're doing this, if you've been paying attention, yesterday we looked at a property for the BRRRR strategy: buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. Okay. Now, in order for that strategy to be effective, what do you have to do? So let's use an example, right? Typically, the easy round numbers is if you can buy a property for $35,000 and you can spend another $35,000 renovating that property, so pretty heavy rehab, and you're able to make the property worth $100,000 afterwards. Well, that would be your after repair value. And now you can go get a debt service coverage ratio loan, and that allows you to take back out a loan equal to 70% or maybe even 80% sometimes, but let's use 70%. If you can get a loan for 70% of that property's value, then now you're able to take back out $70,000 because that home is worth 100 grand, and a bank will give you a loan for $70,000 if that home is worth 100 grand because there's still some equity in there. Now you essentially got back all of your $70,000 that you initially invested. And you can use that same $70,000 to recycle it and reinvest into another property down the road. Okay, well, now that you're able to do that, now you just rinse and repeat. You can just keep buying more property, more properties, more properties. But what is that strategy really contingent upon, right? It's heavily, heavily, heavily dependent on your ability to guess or estimate your after repair value correctly. And what we've been doing, if you recall, is we've been noting down all these properties as they've been coming on the market, because we've also tracked all the properties that's been sold in the last 3 months. We tracked all the properties that's in the zip code for the past year almost, to be honest with you. But now we're tracking properties that are coming onto the market because with all these changes happening in the world, with interest rates fluctuating up and down, with the 10-year treasury yield, if you follow it, it went from probably 3.7-ish to 4.5, just seesawing a little bit. So your interest rates are going up and down based on the slow dance of the 10-year treasury yield. And if you're not staying on top of what's happening in the market, then you run a risk of either overestimating or underestimating your after repair value. So that's why we're keeping track of just exactly how many properties are coming onto the market, how many days are staying onto the market, and what dollar per square foot are they coming on. Now, obviously, these other attributes matter, right? Year built still matters. The dollar per square foot still matters. 240,000 divided by 37.38, that's $64 a square foot. And this was listed today in 11/27/2024. Okay, great. Did this property sell yet? This property is still on the market. It's a 4.3, and they were listing it for $75 a square foot. So still on the market after 30 days. Good to know. What's the lot size on this property? 0.28 acres, 0.28 acres. No garage, no basement. But there's a carport. Maybe I'll write that down. Carport. Okay. And what neighborhood is this in? Let's double check. It's closer to Midfield, northeast of Wilkes. Okay. Now, what's the condition of this property? I'll say, wow, that's a pretty nice kitchen. Some carpet still. Sunroom. Okay. Great modern kitchen and bathrooms. New LVP. Carpet still in one of the room's photos. All freshly painted and has a sunroom. Now, this tells me, just in a very brief commentary, what the condition of the kitchen, bathrooms are, what the paint and cosmetic finishes are, whether I need to replace the flooring, etc. Because it's gonna help you understand where was this dollar per square foot derived from. And if it's super modern, now it tells you that, hey, even if it's super modern, once you go past 2,000 square feet, you're not really getting a premium on the dollar per square foot. Rather, you might go down. So you got to figure out, hey, when you're doing these renovations on a per square foot basis, you got to figure out whether that's actually worth it, especially for very, very large homes such as this one. Okay. So now that we got these details down here, I'm going to keep that in mind for future properties that I want to convert from, let's say, a 3-bedroom property to a 4-bedroom property. And if I'm trying to meet a certain or specific dollar per square foot on the after repair value calculation, I can now give a photo similar to this to a contractor and say, hey, this is probably what I want to renovate my home to look like. Can you make this happen? Okay. So there you go. Now, what we want to do is, well, let me show you why this is probably not ideal, right? So let's say 240 grand. Now in this area, we can check affordablehousing.com, but I haven't seen anything really go for over $1,400, even as a 4-bedroom, no matter how really big you are. So 1365. So I'll put 1365 to rent here, 240 grand for renovations. I don't think there's much to be renovated here. I'll leave $1,500 for the roof, just in case there's any patching that needs to get done. Final for landscaping in row 46. I don't need to paint anything on its home. For our LVP flooring, I'm just going to use 300 square foot for some of the carpet that I saw that I would rather just get rid of now in row 90. I got 2 high pressure flush toilets that I want to replace the toilets with high pressure flush toilets. I mean, a 6360 with some contingencies. Great. So $6,000 rehab is pretty much nothing. I mean, that's probably just cosmetic. And honestly, you could probably just keep it there and just not renovate it, right? That's personal. That's your personal choice. Now, on this property, let's go ahead and get our payment calculator. And I'm going to take this property tax number, $84. And now I'm going to use the $186 estimate equals 186 times 1.2. I'm adding 20% premium because I'm assuming that this is an estimate originally of 186 for a primary residence property. When you turn it into an investment property, chances are you're going to see that the premium is going to be higher. That's just the truth of the matter, right? So that's why I added 20% premium by multiplying by 1.2, because the insurance company is going to charge more for investment properties. Okay. Then I got 10% set aside for maintenance. This is money I set aside every single month for roof replacements, HVAC replacements, water heater replacements. You understand that at some point in time, your siding's going to get replaced. At some point, you're going to have to do all these repairs. So if you don't start setting aside money every single month for these repairs, you're going to be in a position where, well, frankly, you're going to be in a really bad position if you get a bill for $13,000 to replace a roof for in 100 months from now, because you would have overestimated your profitability because you underestimated your expenses. Don't be that person. Okay. You got 10% for property management, and then you got 5% for vacancy. Great. So now on my down payment, let's see what we calculated. Down payment percentage, F19, 25%. So my down payment is going to equals to my asking price in B4 multiplied by my down payment percentage in F19. That equals to 60 grand. We have 2.5% for closing costs, 6,300 for renovations. My financing amount is going to equals to my B4, my last asking price, minus my down payment percentage. So I'll be financing $180,000. I'm going to put in 7.5% right now for the investment interest rate. So that's going to yield me a negative 540 if I rent this property out as a 4-bedroom property for $1,365. I'll be negative $542 in cash flow a month. That's a negative 9% cash and cash return, assuming you bought this property for 240 grand with a $6,400 rehab, 25% down, and 7.5% interest rate. Now, how do you determine whether or not something is a deal, right? You might play around with these levers, and this is why this practice is so important. You have to understand where are the inputs that you can mess with to figure out how do you achieve your target return. Now, I'm not saying that 10% cash on cash return is a magical number for everybody. I'm simply using it as a benchmark, a target. This is not investment advice. We're not soliciting any investments on this call. Just simply showing you all the work that we have to do every single day. All right. So if I lower this to, let's say, 100 grand, now all of a sudden I'm 6.8, 90 grand. Now I'm at 85. There you go. So 88,000, that would be a 10% return. So assuming everything else stays constant, right? As a 4-bedroom, I can cash flow $255 a month, yield a 10% return if I'm able to buy this property for 88 grand. Will they go for 88 grand when they list it for 240? Probably not. That's okay. The point was for you to go through this exercise so you understand just exactly what you're willing to pay for this property, right? I mean, let's say the seller owns this property free and clear and you want to just buy on seller finance, right? Well, what do you go 240 grand? Let's go, you go 5% down and you go 0% interest rate. That still is not going to work. You go 1%, I mean, that's still not going to work, right? It's just with all the expenses, it doesn't work. You might have to buy this property for, see how I did there? 185. You might have to buy this property for 185 grand, so 240. Give the seller 10% down and have the seller finance the property to you on a 0% interest rate, so principal only payments, for you to get the same yield, right? And that's the exercise I want you to go through, right? This is a creative finance scenario where everything else is the same, or 6,400. You're giving 10% down, and now the seller is going to be the bank instead. You're not going out to get a loan. You turn the seller into a bank account. But this probably will only work if the seller owns the house free and clear, right? And you look at it on PropStream to see whether or not the property's owned free and clear. That's something you can do. But chances are a seller won't go for this, right? Because honestly, they're not getting the listing price of 240. But if this property is still on the market in 4 months from now, that might be a different conversation. There's no way that, chances are, I'm speculating, they're not going to pay attention to you if you give them an offer right now. They just came on the market. There is no pain. You can give them an offer 88 grand, right? That could work, but then that's probably insulting and they'll probably never listen to you again. So that's why there is a set of price, or I mean, a set of terms or a price that works for every deal if you know what your criteria is. I just showed you how to manipulate the levers from the down payment to the interest rate to the asking price. You can even double your renovations, right? To go through those scenarios so you can understand objectively without emotions, what would a deal be? Now, I mean, some people might not even care about cash and cash return. If they could just buy $1 million property, it breaks even every single month, but it goes up 5% every single year on appreciation. Very speculative. That's very risky, but it's a strategy. And who cares about $200 of cash flow a month if you make 50 grand in appreciation every single year? That's true wealth building, right? So that's why your own circumstance is very different. And as we head into the holidays, I'm so grateful for you all supporting the podcast, supporting the affordable housing mission. Without people like you, I'll never have the home I grew up in. I'm so grateful for you all. Thank you so much for supporting us to 3,000 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button on YouTube and share the podcast with other folks. I appreciate you all so much. Have a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you all spend some quality time with your family and friends today, tomorrow, this whole weekend. If there are things that you would regret not saying to your loved ones, say it this week. Our time is never guaranteed, so take that time, spend it with your family, and hope you all have an amazing weekend. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I'll be back here again tomorrow for day 425. Have a good one, everybody.